Good evening. I call this November 9th, 2021 meeting of the Morrisville Town Council to order. This meeting is being streamed on the Town of Morrisville website. On Friday, November 12th, a video of this meeting will be uploaded to www.townofmorrisville.org/government/live-video. Sergeant Penland has been a law enforcement officer for 21 years and is currently assigned to our Field Operations Division. We appreciate him being our Sergeant at Arms tonight. I now recognize Councilmember Rao for our invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. Please bow our heads in prayer. As we lead the all-America city of Morrisville, let us be ever mindful that our town is an example of an American democracy working at its best, an engaged, bipartisan coalition of engaged citizens, united in our efforts to develop a vibrant, innovative, and inclusive community for generations to come. We pray that you provide the council and staff the wisdom and guidance to continue to lead this town in the right direction. We pray for any family who has lost a loved one due to COVID or any illness, and we remind you that you are not alone in your grief. We pray for our brave soldiers wherever they may be, and must always thank them for their service to our nation, not just on Veterans Day, which we will celebrate this Thursday, but every day. We pray for the family of former Secretary of State and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Colin Powell, whose selfless sacrifice to this nation will never be forgotten, along with any family who has lost a loved one or anyone who has lost their lives defending the freedom of the United States of America. Make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, let us pardon. Where there is doubt, let us have faith. Where there is despair, let us have hope. Where there is darkness, let us see light. And where there's sadness, let us try to find joy. We pray for these things. Amen.
Amen. All who are able, please stand and join in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we adopt tonight's agenda, Town Council policy is to review and ensure there are no conflicts of interest or appearance of conflict of interest with any items on the agenda. Does anyone on the council have anything they wish to share at this time?
Mayor, do we have an additional closed session this evening?
Yes. I was just polling for conflicts first.
Okay.
I appreciate that. At this time, I would like to determine if it is the will of this council to make 3 adjustments to tonight's agenda. The first is the addition of a closed session as the last item before adjournment for a staff request. The second is to move our public address, item 8, to be held between items 6F, the recognition of police officers receiving life-saving awards, and item 6G, the mobile application presentation. That's in order to manage safety protocols and allow those who wish to participate in public address to not have to wait an additional hour before being heard. The third is to postpone item 7B to November 23rd. Morrisville COVID-specific data is not yet available. So is there any discussion regarding this proposal? And if not, I entertain a motion to adopt this evening's agenda with those 3 adjustments.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda with those 3 additions. Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously 7-0. Thank you all very much. We have 8 presentations tonight. A proclamation recognizing Small Business Saturday, a proclamation recognizing Food Insecurity Awareness Week, a proclamation recognizing Children's Day, the 16th annual MESC Poster Contest Grand Prize winner, Teen Morrisville 101 graduate recognition, recognition of Morrisville Police Department officers receiving life-saving awards, a mobile application presentation, and a fund balance presentation. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson will read the proclamation recognizing Small Business Saturday. After the reading, she will ask Chamber President Linda Fournette to approach to receive it on behalf of the business community.
Thank you, Mayor. This proclamation is recognizing Small Business Saturday. Whereas Small Business Saturday is a day dedicated to supporting small businesses and communities across the country. Founded by American Express in 2010, this day is celebrated each year on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And whereas, according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 31.7 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.9% of all firms with paid employees in the United States, are responsible for 65.1 of net new jobs created from 2000 to 2019. And whereas 96% of consumers who shopped on Small Business Saturday agree that shopping at small, independently owned businesses support their commitment to making purchases that have a positive social, economic, and environmental impact. And 97% of consumers who shopped on Small Business Saturday agree that small businesses are essential to their community. And whereas the goal of Small Business Saturday is to remind consumers that they play a key role in helping the small businesses in their community thrive, and encourage them to get out and shop and dine at local businesses. And whereas when you spend money in your community, your sales tax supports public education, parks, and street improvements, as well as vital services like firefighting and public safety. And whereas supporting small local businesses ensures that Morrisville will maintain its unique personality while also providing jobs for local residents. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Morrisville does hereby recognize November 27, 2021 as Small Business Saturday in the Town of Morrisville. We urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. And now I'd like to present this to our Chamber President. She's very shy. Thank you so much for everything that you do, Morrisville. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
I will now read the proclamation recognizing Food Insecurity Awareness Week. After I read it, I will ask Stephanie Workman of the Western Regional Community Advocacy Committee Food Security Action Group, which is a mouthful, to join me to receive it on the dais. This proclamation recognizes Food Insecurity Awareness Week. Whereas the USDA reports that 11% of American households are food insecure, and whereas 33% of senior adults admitted to the hospital may be malnourished, and whereas North Carolina is the 10th hungriest state in the nation, with almost 604,000 households that do not have enough to eat, and whereas 223 seniors in the town of Morrisville, ages 65 plus, live at or below 200% of the poverty level, and almost 1 in 5 children in North Carolina face hunger on a regular basis, and whereas good nutrition is critical in the first years of life, and childhood food insecurity can lead to developmental, health, and behavioral problems, as well as make it more difficult to concentrate and do well in school. And whereas the Town of Morrisville Parks and Recreation Department partners with the Western Regional Community Advocacy Committee Food Security Action Group to serve meals during the summer to youth under 18 years of age living in Morrisville. And whereas Morrisville residents are served by local food pantries, Meals on Wheels, and other food assistance programs comprised of volunteers and church members who want to help their community. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Morrisville does hereby recognize November 13th through 21st, 2021 as Food Insecurity Awareness Week, and encourages all citizens to donate food items to those agencies serving our neighbors that are combating food insecurity, and support the efforts of the Western Regional Food Security Action Group. Signed this 9th day of November, 2021. Ms. Workman, if you'd please approach and perhaps help us fix the lights that are flickering.
Yes. What do you know?
Sure. I didn't name it, first of all. That's a huge mouthful. human services. We're an action group. During the pandemic, we got $1.2 million to be able to feed families and children in Morrisville, Erie, and Apex. We served 154,000 meals during the pandemic. We continue to do this every other weekend. So like next weekend, we have 1,200 turkeys coming between all of our feeding sites. So thank you for your support, and thank y'all for your support. We appreciate it.
I'd like to recognize Councilmember Ann Rabati to read our next proclamation, please.
This proclamation proclaims November 20th, 2021 as Children's Day in recognition of all children. Whereas World Children's Day was first established in 1954 as Universal Children's Day and is celebrated on November 20th of each year to promote international togetherness, awareness among children worldwide, and children's welfare. And whereas November 20th is an important date, as it is the date in 1959 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Declaration of the Rights of the Child. It is also the date in 1989 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And whereas mothers and fathers, teachers, nurses and doctors, government leaders and civil activists, religious and community leaders, as well as young people and children themselves, can play an important part in making World Children's Day relevant for their societies, communities, and nations. And whereas Children's Day recognizes talented youth who have excelled in academics, community services, and performing arts, and who serve as role models for other children. And whereas Children's Day develops children's confidence and leadership skills as they are managers and performers on that day. And whereas Children's Day competitions in art sessions and performing arts promote healthy competitive spirit among children. And whereas Children's Day brings out the potential in children and inspires other children to follow their example. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Morrisville does hereby recognize November 20th, 2021 as Children's Day. Other entities and civic groups are encouraged to participate by recognizing Children's Day in their organization.
Thank you very much. We are now at item 6C. Kimberly Conley, Sustainability Coordinator, will facilitate the next presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council and all others present. My name is Kimberly Conley. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for the Town of Morrisville. And tonight I'm pleased to present the winners of the 16th Annual Student Poster Contest conducted by our Citizen Advisory Committee, which is the Morrisville Environment and Stormwater Committee, or MESC for short. Every year, MESC hosts the contest aimed at creating awareness and generating additional interest in environmental topics by asking children in grades K through 5 to provide their original artwork based on a particular theme. This year, our theme was Do Something Drastic, Cut the Plastic. The theme correlates perfectly with our current initiative to increase recycling participation and reduce contamination within our curbside collections. Plastic retail bags are recyclable, but not in our curbside bins. They are one of the worst contaminants in the recycling stream, so our mission is to refuse, reduce, reuse, and recycle these items. We received some amazingly creative pieces of art this year, and we're so grateful for the participation of our Morrisville community. A special shout out to the school and organization administrators that helped us make this such a success. We assign first, second, and third prize winners for each of the grades and provide letters from our mayor, a certificate, and an environmentally friendly gift as a token of our appreciation. You will see those winners in a rolling presentation tonight. They're actually up on the screen right now. In addition, you can also find this PowerPoint on our Town of Morrisville website if you Google or if you search Student Art Poster Contest. Before we present the grand prize winner, I did want to give you a couple of statistics on our contest for context. We received 55 total entries in 2021, that's this year obviously, compared to 15 last year, 2020, COVID, and 60 in 2019. So we feel like we've come back fully from COVID. 10 schools or organizations participated this year. We had 2 winners from the same family. There were 2 sets of twins that actually submitted entries, and we had 37 entries from the Cedar Fork Elementary School alone. So a special shout out to the administrators and art teachers there as well. Now I'd like to introduce Michelle Wright, who is our chair for the MESC committee, to present the grand prize winner.
Good evening. So I would like to reiterate that we were just really impressed with the entries this year. So it was a tough decision, but one did an outstanding job in particular. And I'd just like to play a response that he had. We asked him, why is it important to reduce plastic in Morrisville? See if I can.
It is important to reduce plastic in our community because it will keep our community clean and save the earth.
So I would like to congratulate our grand prize winner, Auguste Jindal. He was a first grader at Cedar Fork Elementary, and would like to invite his family to come up on the stage to receive his certificate and prizes.
Can we all come up? It'll be fine. Why don't we all go up? This is really nice. Now we're actually at 6E. That was really sweet. And now we're looking forward to the next generation. Will Glenn, Communications and Outreach Director, will recognize our Teen Morrisville 101 graduates.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Will Glenn, Communications and Outreach Director. Glad to be here this evening. I want to ask my Teen Morrisville 101 graduates to, if you could line up here for me, kind of spaced out if you could. Again, I am very pleased to be here to honor these wonderful high school students on behalf of Teen Morrisville 101. If you don't know, Teen Morrisville 101 is our Citizens Academy, and this version is for young people in grades 9 through 12. We had them here for 4 Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. We gave them some snacks. They were a quiet bunch at first, but when we got to our hands-on park project, they did an excellent job, and they really came out and saw their personalities. They ended their session with the fire and police and doing some demonstrations with them. So I'll be brief and I'll be quick. I want to ask our council also if you guys could come out front. I'm not going to shake any hands tonight, but we're going to have them go on stage and kind of with the certificates as well.
So we're going to go in front of our seats again.
All right. I'm going to start with Hardik Agrawal. One stage, yeah. Yeah, give him a little elbow. There you go. It goes to the end, all the way to the end, and stand there. Next is Anvita Anija. Good job. So our next student couldn't be here this night. I do want to call her name, though. Isha Bide. Let's give her a round of applause also. All right. Next is Sharon Devasia. And Hardik Gupta. All right. Saja Hamenda. All right. Ayush Nagar. All right, Mahi Shinde. All right, and Suchitra Tanamalaya. And last but not least, Sierra Wiseman. Want to get a quick photo with our students if we can, and cancel. All right. All right. So can I also, can I have their parents stand as well if they're here this evening, the parents or guardians of the students, if you could stand? If you're standing, just raise your hand if you're already standing. All right. Let's give them a hand. Thank you.
That's really great you all took the time to do that, because I know there's other things that you could be doing. We really appreciate your engagement and your involvement in the town. At this time, I'd like to ask Interim Police Chief Acosta to make the next presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, esteemed members of council. So I promise you I didn't write a 6-page speech here. I had to make my font 26 because I typically forget my glasses, so forgive me. I want to say, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to be able to highlight these 3 police officers tonight. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out the words to share how proud I am. I couldn't find any. So I am honored, though, that we can have this opportunity to celebrate and share these officers and the work they did in the heroic acts of Senior Officer Lori Strickland, Officer Beth Wyatt, and Officer Madison Cook. Before I start, I'd really like to just kind of set the stage of what this day actually looked like. This particular incident happened around 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Well, our officers come in at 6 in the morning. Many of them come in to work early. So to be in at 6 in the morning, typically they're up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So they've been at work and awake for a very long time. This particular day, they worked for hours helping the fire department with a fire actually in this same apartment complex. Because of that, I'm pretty confident none of them even had the opportunity to eat that day. So I say these things because I think it's important that you understand maybe where they were and then how they reacted. Another note is, so Officer Lori Strickland was the supervisor on duty that day. And to be able to have to react and do what she did, she also was responsible for everybody else that was out on the street and to know where they were and what they were doing. So on September 21st, Morrisville officers responded to a welfare check of a gentleman who'd been in crisis. Typically in these types of calls, lots of times they turn out to be nothing. Today wasn't that day. Officer Cook and Officer White arrived. They were met by the gentleman's friend who let them in the apartment. Once they got into the apartment, the cursory search of the apartment, they didn't find anybody. They went to the back bedroom, found the back bedroom was locked. So naturally, our instincts as police officers, we get a little suspicious and fear that the worst. So the officers had to make forced entry into this room. After a few attempts, Officer Beth White was successful in making that entry. Now, I'm sure you've heard the term used before of manning up or having to man up. Well, I think at that moment, Officer Wyatt proved that that phrase does not belong in our profession anymore. And I think she also proved that she's enough. As officers made their way through the door, they found a victim lying on the floor unresponsive. He had severe lacerations to the area of his carotid artery and his femoral artery. So that only tells you how severe and bad shape this person was. Officer Cook and Officer Wyatt immediately began administering life-saving first aid to this victim. This victim's breathing became intermittent. Our telecommunicators tried to help. They were sharing over the radio trying to assist with CPR instructions. Immediately, Officer Cook recognized that if she would have started that, it had been detrimental to the life-saving efforts. To recognize that under that level of stress is pretty unheard of. Within a few minutes, Senior Officer Strickland arrived. She immediately jumped into action. After several minutes, our fire department arrived to help. These three women never stopped working. They didn't get out of the way. They continued to work and work with the fire department. After the victim was loaded up in the EMS, I had one of our firemen, our veteran firefighters, come to me. The first thing he said, he looked at me right in the eye and he said, "If those ladies wouldn't have been there and did what they did, I really don't believe this man would be alive right now." When that comes from one of our firefighters, that really spoke volumes to me of what these three officers just did. As a leader of your police department, my standard has always been, if this was my family, someone that I care about, would I be proud of this response? Being a father myself, if this would have been my son, I could not have been more proud of these officers and their response. These officers just did not save one life that day. And I think that's really important for everybody here to understand. They saved a family and the destruction of a family of losing a loved one. Tonight, these officers be given a life-saving award recognizing them for their heroic acts. They're going to be given a uniform, ribbon that they can proudly wear, which signifies their membership to a very small and distinct group that has actually saved someone's life. Ladies, I'm very proud of you. In 27 years of service, I've never joined this distinct group, but they have. Be proud of yourselves, because I am. If Senior Officer Lori Strickland, Officer Beth Wyatt, and Officer Madison Cook, come up, please.
Interim Chief Acosta, thank you very much for sharing all that. Officers, incredible work. We're very proud of you, and thank you very much for your service. Per our earlier decision, we will at this time have item 8, public address. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes to speak on a topic of their choice, and we recognize speakers in the order that they sign up for a total of 30 minutes. I would ask that if a previous speaker has substantially shared your comment, you consider passing on your spot in the interest of hearing from as many interested parties as possible. It is our practice as a council to not directly respond to public address comments at the meeting, but given the nature of what we expect to hear this evening, I may have some remarks which you may wish to hear after the public address is concluded. When you address the council, please do so to the group as a whole, not any individual member, and please state your name, residential address, and your role for the record as you begin your comments. Town Clerk Smith, our first speaker, please. And can you tell me how many speakers we have signed up?
Yes, sir. There are 3 individuals signed up to give public comment.
3? Okay.
Mayor, if we could allow the audience outside to come in, please, first.
Yes.
Thank you.
So if you want to grab the seats that aren't covered, and if there's overflow, if you wouldn't mind standing around the back or the sides of the room, please. For those of you who weren't in here, please find a seat that's not covered or stand around the outsides of the room for social distancing. We appreciate it. Thank you, Town Manager Page. Town Clerk Smith?
Yes, sir. The first resident or individual signed up to speak is Stacy Schaefer.
Is it okay if I take my mask off, or can you hear me okay? I can take my mask off? Okay, thank you. My name is Stacy Schaefer. I live at 6300 Deerwood Place in Raleigh, but I am a citizen of Cary via annexation. I am also a Prestonwood Country Club member. On Friday, October 29th, during a ladies' golf event at Prestonwood, Millie Young, riding solo in a golf cart, was hit by an oncoming SUV on Morrisville Parkway as she was crossing the 4-lane road. She was violently thrown out of the cart, hitting the pavement, as her fellow golfers watched in horror. It happened when one vehicle stopped in the outer lane, but the vehicle in the inner lane did not. I have heard the driver was going about 40 miles per hour and was not slowing down on impact. Kudos to the Morrisville Police, Fire, and Rescue for responding so quickly. It's a frightening story, and one that will happen again unless steps are taken now to reduce the risk of accident in the future. I am here tonight representing all of these folks behind me that I'd like to have stand, plus many more who also care about this issue. We all stand together with one goal in mind: do whatever it takes to make the crosswalk on Morrisville Parkway, that is about 1/8 of a mile southwest of its intersection with Crabtree Crossing, a much safer place for all that use it. Yes, safer for golfers and carts, but also safer for drivers and safer for pedestrians, golfers who walk, runners, dog walkers, and bikers. It's so cliche to say, but it's so true. It takes a tragedy for change to happen often. Our communities got lucky this time that we did not have a loss of life, but it came at the expense of Millie, a vibrant wife, mother, and grandmother that somehow survived this accident, yet faces a very long and painful recovery. But it is her inspiration that we all want to shine a light on what we consider a problem. But we also want to offer our support to help find an acceptable and adequate answer. Believe it or not, I had an experience today at that same location that again illustrates that the current signage is ineffective. This happened today. It was 12:30, and I was standing at the crosswalk on the northeast Cary side, and a golf cart was staged to cross in the median. If you know that area, it's a 4-lane road with the median. And there's a section where a golf cart or a group of people could stop if the next 2 lanes were not passable. A car stopped about 50 feet from the white lines on the road's outer lane. Literally 50 feet from me, I was standing right there. And a few seconds later, another car came whizzing by on the inside lane. It took my breath away in that moment. It's exactly what happened to Millie. And it happens all of the time. Many of us here tonight face the fear of crossing 4 lanes of speedy traffic every time we play that course. The current signs only are not enough. It is state law that pedestrians have the right of way. I walk when I golf. So do many others in this room. We must do better in alerting drivers that they're approaching a pedestrian crossway. It's not just a golf cart crossing. So these are our observations and our asks. First, number 1, there are only 2 yellow signs each way, one on each side of the 2 lanes, that read golf cart crossing. They are about 100 yards from the crosswalk. There is no signage or indication of where the crosswalk really is until you're right on top of the white stripes. That's a flat section of land. You can't see those stripes, especially when you're going 35, 45, even 55 on that road until you're right on top of them. That section of Morrisville Parkway, between at least Davis Drive and Crabtree Crossing is one of the longest straightaways, so speeding is common. That's not unknown to most of us here. Number 4, the trees, shrubs or bushes, I think they're actually trees, when you're headed northeast toward Crabtree Crossing on Morrisville Parkway, they have grown into the line of sight for both drivers and crossers. I drove that several times today. I've been on that pathway crossing. You can't see that there's someone waiting to cross until you're right on top of that area. And number 5, we all know this, there are already examples of warning lights and additional signage in several pedestrian locations throughout Morrisville and Cary and Raleigh. So these are our asks. Number 1, that the Morrisville Town Council collaborate with the Town of Cary, Prestonwood Country Club, and or any other state agency, including the North Carolina Department of Transportation, necessary to ensure that additional safety measures are put in place at that crosswalk. Now. Number 2, that the Morrisville Town Council initiate all necessary studies so appropriate safety options can be revealed. Start now, without delay. And number 3, accept our offer to participate in feedback sessions on their proposed options. As you can imagine, we have plenty of ideas and suggestions. When you are ready, we'll be ready. And then number 4, acknowledge that our asks do align with Morrisville's 2021 strategic plan, and specifically the goal of public safety readiness. Objective 4.1 reads, to be operationally ready to meet public safety service demands of the community and staff, and demonstrate commitment to continuous service level improvement of all town safety components, including police, fire, parks, streets, and facilities. So in closing, we, those of us in this room, and many people that are not in this room, we want to be abundantly clear. We will not stop our collective effort to bring attention to this safety issue on Morrisville Parkway. We will not stop until change happens at that crosswalk. In the spirit of transparency, State Senator Wiley Nickel has also been contacted to engage. One of our dear friends has been badly injured, and it did not have to happen. We cannot prevent accidents, none of us can, but we certainly can work together to reduce the risk of them, both in seriousness and frequency. Let's face it, our communities are drawing more and more people, so the risk of tragedy is going to increase. It's not going to decrease or stay the same. Maybe it hasn't happened in a long time, but traffic on that road has continued to increase. The risk is going to continue to increase. So though our addresses may be separated by lines defining Cary and Morrisville, we share spaces, parks, restaurants, shops, and roads. We must not pass on this opportunity. We must now share in the responsibility to make that road, and specifically that crosswalk, safer. Regardless of what has been done or not done in the past, let's look forward and take action now. On behalf of the folks in this room and the folks not present, but we know are in support of this comment, thank you for letting us share.
Thank you for sharing. So I took the prerogative of allowing 6 minutes approximately, since you were representing a group. So next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Jennifer Almquist.
I'm shorter than you. My name is Jennifer Almquist. I'm a resident of Cary, and my husband and I live in Preston, right around the corner from Millie and Butch. We've been members of Prestonwood Country Club since 2012. I currently serve as the volunteer president of the Preston Pars Ladies Golf Association. We have an active group of 200 plus women strong who share this entire messaging that we're giving to you today. They play golf weekly from April till October at Prestonwood. We have many of these ladies here with us, obviously. Prestonwood has 3 18-hole golf courses, Highlands, Meadows, and Fairways. Meadows is the only golf course of the 3 that requires crossing Morrisville Parkway, as holes 1 to 4, 13, and 18 are located on the southwest side of the crossing, and holes 5 and 12 are located on the north side of the crossing, northeast, excuse me. In the height of COVID in 2020, golf made a huge resurgence in the United States, as it was really the only sporting activity you could be playing safely with social distancing and without a mask. Roughly the busy season of golf in this area of North Carolina runs in the months of April to October. It drops off slightly from November till March, mainly because of weather and daylight savings time, but is still a year-round activity here. The average number of yearly golf rounds on the Meadows for both 2020 and 2021 is 36,400 rounds. That's individual rounds. They may be in foursome, they may be by themselves, but that's how many rounds are played yearly on that golf course. Each of those rounds has to cross Morrisville Parkway twice. So that translates to 72,800 crossings a year. Let's get the maintenance group in there too. They have to cross Morrisville Parkway at least 5 times a day to maintain the golf course. That accrues to an average of 18,000 back and forth trips across Morrisville Parkway yearly. So the grand total of the average golf cart crossing, or the golf-related crossing yearly, is 90,800 trips, or 7,500 per month. I'd like to point out that the Prestonwood Golf membership includes both men, women, and young children of all ages who cross Morrisville Parkway both on foot and by electric carts. Prestonwood's a huge supporter of the First Tee. We have kids under 12 carrying their golf clubs, crossing that road during rush hour, depending on the time of day when they're playing, with one adult with them to make sure that they get across safely. Just bear that in mind. And I think, Larry, what is there, like 50 kids, 60, that play on a regular basis on the First Tee program? 72. I'm asking you to consider the total potential number of both golfers and residents walking, biking, and running who use the crossing on Morrisville Parkway during any time in a given year as a compelling reason to quickly find a safe solution to the current Morrisville crossing situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Butch Young.
My name is Butch Young. I live at 112 High Country Drive in Cary, North Carolina. I'm a longtime member at Prestonwood, as my wife is, and it was my wife that was actually in the accident. And I stand here before you to want you guys to champion getting something done, to be advocates, not just for my wife, but for all of us that live in the community, whether it's us as members of Prestonwood, whether it's people that bike, ride, just anything that you guys can do. I do understand that Morrisville Parkway is a state-owned road. So if we've got to take it up to the Secretary of Transportation, I just want you guys here tonight to be champions to try to get something. Stacy and Jen are dear friends of ours, have been for years. Steve Rouse has been one of the first people I met when I moved here in 2002. So I called Steve up, and he didn't know it was Millie that was in the accident. But he has assured me that he will be an advocate for change. I know Larry Connor's an honorable man that will do whatever the club needs to do, whatever we as citizens of Morrisville or Cary, whatever we need to do. I just think it's incumbent upon you guys to step up and do what you can. I'm sure there's lots going on, but just from a personal note, it would be so important. I don't have any prepared remarks, but I echo exactly what Stacy and Jen have said. That being said, Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming out tonight. We all wish Millie a speedy recovery, and we appreciate you coming out tonight and sharing your thoughts. Is there anyone else signed up for in person?
No, sir, there were not.
Okay. So our town clerk has compiled the email public address comments, and those were emailed to your council this afternoon. We are committed to reading each and every one of them, and staff will as well. It is my understanding the emailed comments, generally, I read some of them, they generally concur with the concerns shared tonight. So they will be part of the permanent record, and we will not be reading them aloud as part of the meeting, however. In the first few that I saw, there was already some good ideas. So please keep sharing your ideas if you come up with new things. That's very positive for us. Your engagement is important. As I mentioned earlier, as a general practice, neither council nor staff respond to public address comments at the meeting. As this is a subject that so many are obviously interested in, we want to provide you a little background. Firstly, as was noted by Mr. Young, this is an NCDOT, a North Carolina Department of Transportation roadway, and they are the ultimate decision makers when it comes to any changes. We do have a good collaborative relationship with NCDOT, and we routinely partner with them to make them aware of issues and concerns, and we will work with them to address this crossing, as we have been working with them to address other pedestrian crossings in town, most recently the Morrisville-Carpenter Road by the Savannah subdivision. As this is obviously a safety issue, we ask that everyone, motorists, pedestrians, bicyclists, and golf cart operators, be careful at all our crossings in Morrisville at all times, and this tragic accident highlights the need to be aware of your surroundings and potential risks at all times. We appreciate your engagement. In fact, we welcome it. And we ask for your patience because it takes time to review and evaluate these crossings, even for interim and temporary measures. Town Council will ask for an update at its first January meeting. We are committed to keeping all interested stakeholders informed about our collaborative efforts. Staff will gather names and emails and keep those who sign up updated directly if there is any additional information to share before then. Once again, we appreciate your engagement. This is what democracy looks like. And we are all honored to be here representing your interests. Your health and safety is and always has been our highest priority. Thank you for your time this evening. You are more than welcome to stay for more of tonight's meeting. Our next item is a very exciting step for Morrisville. So thank you very much for coming. Sorry I had to read that, but I wanted to make sure I hit all the points. And I hope that it gives you a little comfort that we are working, we are your champions, and your health and safety is our highest priority. So thank you for coming out tonight. I think I speak on behalf of all of us and our staff. Thank you. Okay. At this time, Rick Ralph, our CIO, will now provide an update on the mobile application project. Mr. Ralph.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. All right, I'm here tonight to present the mobile app discovery process. It was a process that we engaged a vendor at the end of last fiscal year. The awarded vendor was Agria. They have over 25 years of experience designing and developing award-winning mobile applications for private and public entities. The reason we wanted to engage with a company before we actually started the development of the mobile application was to gather all of the requirements from our stakeholders to really determine what would be valuable to the community to include in a mobile application. So it was important for us to engage those stakeholders, and we'll talk about who was involved and the process in which we went, and also the requirements that have come about this discovery process. The stakeholders initially involved, we did engage with all of our town staff multiple times. We also engaged with residents, our primary stakeholders, to determine what they saw as a benefit of a mobile application. We released 2 surveys and received almost 200 responses as part of those surveys. From those 200 responses, we pulled approximately 10 out for individual interviews with our developer. They worked through an interview process as well as a couple workshops. They were instrumental in helping through this process. Our developer and contractor also met with the Chamber of Commerce to discuss business needs. One of the primary requirements from that meeting was the potential integration with the chamber calendar to update on business meetings and chamber events. Our Smart City Steering Committee, if we have anyone in the audience today from the committee, if you can raise your hand. I'd like to thank all of those members who were involved, who are here tonight, as well as those that could not make it. They were instrumental in this process. They were involved in hours and hours of discussions, interviews, workshops, design reviews. They were key to getting to where we are currently. It's a prime example of service that they provide and a benefit of that committee, so we're grateful for their involvement. They were critical in coming to where we are and the requirements that were determined. Town Council, and we'll talk about the role of Town Council in this process a little later when we get to next steps and outline kind of where we go from here after Council has a chance to see the potential requirements as well as the design. So before I go into the next slides, they are conceptual prototypes. It is not exactly what the mobile app will look like. It is potentially what it may look like, but we want to at least give some context behind the requirements that have come about as well as what they might look like in an actual application. So this is concept number 1. This is the entry screen as well as the home screen for the mobile application. I want to highlight a few things on these screens and in this design. There will be a potential to create profiles and accounts or simply continue as guest. It will not require a profile to move forward with using the mobile application. However, there are certain features that will require a profile to be created. There will be multiple easy sign-in options linking to Gmail, Facebook, other single sign-on options. And the very right screen, you've got the potential home screen, which is what we're calling the news feed. This news feed can be tailored to the individual profile and can include different types of news and event information that the individual is interested in. And back on that screen, you'll see this is a common theme across the mobile app. At the top, there will be a search function. That search function will allow the users of the mobile app to navigate a lot easier. The idea, and we'll talk about it in phase 2, with that search, integrating with a chatbot to help get the user the information they need quicker and easier. This second section is if you can see at the bottom of the toolbar, is the map item. And this will detail the map-centric features. On the left portion, you'll see different icons that are placed on the map, and this is not an accurate map, this is a mock-up again. You'll see facility icons, you'll see incident icons, and you'll see event icons, and these are just some of the few different icons that will be available for individuals to interact with. When you click on those individual icons, you can get more information, and we'll talk about that in the right side, where you can see different facility amenities. This will integrate with the Smart City dashboard to show amenity usage and utilization, similar to what we have at the MAFC tennis courts, and will be expanded to other amenities this year to show how many courts are available currently, are they in use, and other types of amenities that are available at those locations. On the left side of the screen, you have two button icons. The left one looks like a bus or a shuttle. That will be the integration with our smart shuttle and allow users to schedule rides through this mobile application, so they do not have to use multiple applications for Town of Morrisville items. So this eventually, and we'll talk about what phase this will be in, this can serve as the purpose of the current VIA mobile application to schedule rides currently. In the middle screen is just an expanded version of the events that are taking place on that map. If you scroll up, you can have a list view instead of a map view. And again, across all of these screens, you will have a kind of search bar that will allow individuals to directly from any screen that they're on, search for the next screen or what they're looking for next. This last screen here shows the third or the middle icon at the toolbar, as well as the far bottom right, which is the menu option. The calendar item will be integrated with multiple of our calendars, our website calendar, meetings and events, as well as potentially the Chamber of Commerce calendar as well. That will allow individuals to see events or meetings that are taking place on a certain day. Again, this is a mock-up. We will not be showing pictures. It's just of individuals. This is just an illustration of potentially what could happen if we decided to move forward with different types of registration through this mobile app for Parks and Rec programs, and allowing them to reserve a spot in an individual section or program that is on that day. On the menu option in the right side, you've got additional options that will be involved with the mobile app, but not a main function that's located in the toolbar. You could have items like e-permits, public records requests, public health and safety, so this could be COVID information or other types of public health information that might link to the Wake County Health and Human Services. We've got the e-permits that will link to the CSS side of our InterGov application, as well as some items that you'll see and find on our website, like jobs, our A to Z guide, and trash pickup. And if I can go back here again real quick, on the left side of the screen, one of the buttons that I did not touch on is the incident creation button that's in the bottom right orange of that left screen. And this will be an incident reporting feature of the mobile app for our residents to report an incident that they see around town, whatever it might be. Similar to, currently we utilize our website for web-based incident reporting. This will be more GIS-based and will change in the future. So this is the roadmap in phases where each feature set is broken out. So in phase one, which is more of a foundational phase, building the mobile app, including some of those base features, you can see you've got the news feed, allowing push notifications, the calendar section. Communications is emergency and non-emergency communications that are sent through the mobile app. This would link to our Everbridge system, as well as any other communication systems that we currently utilize. In the last section there, the multiple web views, this will be really just a link to what we currently have on our website that might be more for informational purposes, that's not as much actionable. And that phase one is the base. It's what is currently set for development and release this fiscal year, so it is already budgeted. So any changes to phase one, again, mostly foundational. It would cause delays as well as some financial implications as well. So phase one, again, not completely set, but is something that we will be releasing and when we talk about next steps when we release that RFP. Phase two will be more of those actionable steps, more of the meat of the mobile application, the chatbot, the open data integration, scheduling transportation services through the smart shuttle, incident reporting, and potential gamification of the mobile app where there might be an award system or point system based on different functions throughout the mobile application. And we've reserved phase three for different features that come up through phase one, phase two deployment, as well as phase two, we will be exploring any additional feedback from the council. And again, we'll talk about how that feedback will be given to staff. Phase three, we do have a few features currently set for that, but again, we're leaving it more of a to be determined to determine what features we'll actually implement. And those could be community engagement tools that we integrate with and any enhancements to phase one or phase two requirements. And each phase will follow a fiscal year. Again, phase one will be this fiscal year, currently FY22, phase two FY23, and phase three FY24. So just talking about phase one, this is what we're currently looking at for the actual development and design. The design, once we award the contract, usually takes 3 to 5 weeks. And again, this is all subject to change. Development usually takes about 10 to 18. Design and development sometimes are done in tandem. And then beta testing, usually 4 to 6 weeks. Our beta testing crowd will be town staff, council, and our Smart City Steering Committee. We are targeting the release date between July and September of 2022. Again, this is subject to change and will be determined based on the features that we can actually include in phase one. So briefly talking about next steps, again, I talked about council feedback and how council will be involved now that you've seen the initial part of the discovery process and the foundational phase one. We'll be sending out a survey this week to town council to engage and provide feedback on what they saw, as well as some of the feature requirements that we talked about tonight. We will provide a deadline for that survey. Usually we're going to leave about a couple weeks and allow you plenty of time to fill that survey out and provide feedback. That feedback will be integrated into the phase two plan and when we get to more of the meat of the implementation. We'll be releasing the RFP for phase one coming here in the next week or two. We hope to start that development and design early next calendar year, and it will take probably about 6 months. We're hoping to get it done sooner, but just setting 6 months for that design and development of phase one. And as I mentioned, we're going to reassess phase two requirements, determining what we're actually able to fit in phase one and what feedback we receive from town council. Any questions, comments? And again, like I said, a lot of the feedback that we'll be requesting from town council will be in the coming survey in the next week.
Okay, so you're not necessarily looking for thoughts, questions, and suggestions at this time. That will be part of the survey.
Correct.
Okay. Councilmember Garamella, followed by Councilmember Rao.
Can you go back to the slide where, yes, this one, the one before that, yeah. I think great presentation. I like the concept, but I'm a user, okay? Why should I download your app is the main question, that how would I motivate Morrisville residents to download it? Because I can get all this information on the website. I'm just because I have 300 apps on my phone already. So what is extra that I'm getting?
Exactly. So part of that, again, some of the feature requirements was through that discovery with our residents and what they wanted to see. Again, we can create and develop a mobile application how we want, but this is what we heard from the community. And a lot of it is, again, right now there's the transportation mobile app through VIA. There's the website that you get a lot of the information from. There's the incident reporting, and it's really just aggregating a lot of that information in one place in a centralized location for our residents to use.
Yeah, and the other part for me is, like, my motivation is instant reporting, which you're doing in phase 2. I would rather take some of the things off phase 1 and put instant reporting, because that is a motivation for people to report it. You can download the app, all the information is there, and you can just, in a click of a button, you can just say, either write to the town council from there, or depends on what issue you are. You can do that. That gives a lot of motivation, a lot of downloads, a lot of hits. But if you're pushing that to phase 2, which is like a year and a half from now, I think the motivation is not there, because I can get phase 1. I don't see any value of interaction. That's what I'm meant to say.
Yep, so the reason the incident reporting was phase 2 is because we just don't have a robust incident reporting tool in place currently. So we've got to actually implement that application before we can even integrate it into a mobile application, which is one of the reasons why earlier when we were on the release slide where I said that the targeted release date was July to September, we don't know if that's really going to be the case. If this is just the foundational piece, we might strategically delay the release of a mobile app until we can integrate some of the meat behind that mobile app, like the transportation services, like incident reporting. So we might actually delay it, determining how we feel we can get most user adoption, and that's what we're going to determine.
Yeah, it could be as simple as, a backend saying a web form writing to an email address, as simple as that. And then you have the system up and running, then you could integrate to that. But I strongly feel having that in the phase 1, as simple as, submit it, it will hit Public Works, it will hit, some other, stormwater or town council. That gives that ability of people to connect to the council through app.
Yes, so in phase 1, we did actually put that in. So it's really more of the directory services. So we will have the staff directory, town council directory, direct contact forms on that first phase that will kind of serve as an intermediary. So we can allow people to contact the town without having a incident reporting feature built into the app currently. So we will have those forms, those contact forms, those web forms, and those web views in phase 1. Again, we're just not sure at this time if it makes sense. Again, it's all about user adoption. A lot of the times when someone downloads a mobile application, if they do not find value in that first 6 months, they're removing it from their mobile phone. And we want to avoid that and drive user adoption as best we can. So it'll be a strategic play the closer we get to determine, is this something we release? Do we wait until phase 2 and implementing more features before we actually release the mobile application?
Yeah, I would still say instant reporting is super critical, but I'll leave it with that.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Rao, followed by Councilmember Scroggins-Johnson, please.
Yeah, I'll save my questions on features and stuff for the next meeting, but for me, I just want to thank you, Rick, this is great. I've gone to a couple of meetings, saw that process evolve.
Absolutely.
I think for me, what this is really about is taking that citizen engagement to the next level. Having that centralized place where they can get all of the notifications and information, which I think, and I'm going to talk about the election in my comments, but we had 10% turnout in our elections. But if more people are getting all the notifications on their devices, it's just more and more people are going to get involved, and they're going to be more informed about major decisions. And I think that that's just fantastic. I mean, this is a great start. So I look forward to us being a part of the process of figuring out what we can add in phase 1, phase 2, and eventually other things we can incorporate in the app. So looking forward to that session with you all.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, followed by Councilmember Abadi, please.
Thank you. This is a very helpful presentation. It gives us our roadmap, definitely, to seeing a smarter Morrisville, if you will. Since we are a smart city, it goes hand in hand. Okay, I'll stop with the jokes. I really feel like we need to have content refreshing on a regular basis in order to have a success for a mobile app, and that might need to be a partnership with the communications team as well as IT in order to ensure that things are aligned. I do go to the website, but I use a lot of apps on my phone, including email, to look for town information, and it would be really nice if I didn't have to go to my laptop and look on the website and click through 3 or 4 times to find an event or find some information. So looking at phase 1, I'm happy to see a lot of these features being offered, but I agree with Councilmember Garamell. Incident reporting would probably drive a lot of your adoption much quicker. If it's not available due to the fact that you haven't found a suitable vendor, that's understandable, but then you have to balance that with what is going to drive your adoption. And what I was looking at is your push notifications, news feed, if it's going to be refreshed on a regular basis. People are really hungry for events right now. That is going to be an important feature. Having enough lead time to do planning, calendar integration perhaps, things that are going to make people's life a little bit easier. I was wondering what phase 1 communications means. How does social media play into this app? Is there integrations? Is it separate? Because it is a layer of management if it's not integrated.
Absolutely. So those integrations will be part of that communications line. It'll be our Twitter feed, our Facebook feeds. It'll be our Everbridge communications that individuals receive about road closures and stuff like that. So really everything under that communications umbrella will fall within this, and it will be an integration. So a lot of what we're going to do within the mobile app won't be individually managed. We'll still manage those systems that we have, and we'll integrate with those systems to more seamlessly bring that information into the mobile app, so we are getting up-to-date information.
Very good. And then my last question, of course, is a selfish one. How does one become a beta tester?
You're already a beta tester.
Well, I'm just residents.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will probably release some requests for that. Obviously, some town staff, town council, and our Smart City Steering Committee will be the biggest beta testers, but we probably will bring in some individuals from the community, maybe that aren't technical, and get them to beta test as well. So we'll probably do some outreach and education on that as well.
Might I recommend maybe some of our residents from the senior center even?
Absolutely.
We could partner with them and just, I think they would be a great focus group.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Abadi, please.
Yeah, I actually took my blue thing down for a minute when Vicki talked about social media, but then it turned out she was talking about the other side of social media. So I want to make sure that from the beginning we include features that will allow people to post on their own timelines, in their own applications, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok would be awesome. And just, so that you have a choice when you add a notification to your calendar, or you go to a meeting, or you take a ride on the Smart Shuttle, that you're presented with opportunities to share that information on your social media platforms and with a link to download the app. I mean, that's just free advertising and user population.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did talk about that through the discovery process, is integrating based on profile settings. So if a user, an individual, does create a profile, we are able to integrate with their other systems. It could be their work calendar, it could be their social media platforms. So those are options if an individual does create a profile.
Okay, I like that. I think I'm your dream user because I don't go to the website for anything. I don't do anything
Awesome.
I can't do on my phone.
Yep.
You know, so I mean, yeah, I mean, I understand Satisha's point about the, you know, the incident reporting and the smart shuttle thing, but honestly, if I was going to introduce one thing from phase 2 into phase 1, it would be gamification.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'd agree that getting people to adopt is really quick and important. And I think one thing that really is a pain point for people is traffic. So if there's some way for a user to say, give me push notifications about anything about traffic in Morrisville, and it sounds like you already have Everbridge doing that, but if we can make sure that you can parse it so you're not also getting pushed the Twitter feed and the Facebook, which kind of muddies the water. If people just want to know about traffic, that would probably drive some adoption. I love everyone who has an MOU with us, so even the Western Wake Farmers Market, if they can be in the calendar too. I know we're talking about doing the chamber, and the farmers market is really pretty much every Saturday, but it would be nice for them to get promoted like that. One thing that I'd love to see is if you press a button, where's my nearest smart shuttle node? And it would tell you where it is. So you wouldn't necessarily see it on the map, but it would tell you and how you could get there by walking, how far the walk would be, similarly to a greenway or a park. Those would be nice functionality, but that sounds like stuff that we're going to have in the survey.
Absolutely.
So looking forward to that and the next steps. So thanks for getting us to this point. Don't see any other questions at this time. So if you want to tell us next steps.
Yeah, so we will send that to all the council email addresses this week for the survey. It will include some yes, no, some multiple choice, as well as some open-ended questions as well. Feel free to provide any information and feedback in that. We will then take that information and determine where it fits within the phases, and we'll get that information back out to council as well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. We appreciate your team. I see a lot of them right there, so thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
We're now at item 6H. Jeannie Hooks, Director of Management Services, and Nancy Elmsley, Finance Director, will provide an overview of fund balance.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'm going to let Nancy, this is something she has worked on, and I will assist her if she needs me. So I pass it to Nancy.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor and council and town council members. As mentioned, we'll be giving you a fund balance update this evening. As part of your agenda packet, you had received a fund balance analysis report, which has a lot more information in more detail, but that information fed the presentation that we're doing this evening. And the information actually came from the annual financial report that we just gave to you at last council. And so this is going to be a high level, and regarding fund balance, there'll be more information coming to you at the next town council meeting, but just wanted to give you a high level of what's been happening for fund balance for fiscal year 22. So in this slide, you can see that our total fund balance was a little over $32 million, and that includes all of the governmental funds that we report on. It also includes different categories that make up fund balance, which are restricted, which is based upon state stabilization calculations, and this is something that the state requires that we do to make sure that we're paying our bills. And also, there's purchase orders that are part of that as well, commitments to capital reserves, and also what we have for non-spendable prepaids, unassigned and available fund balance is also part of that calculation, and try to give you a bit of a percentage breakdown as far as what those categories were made of. So that's just a high level of what our fund balance looked like for as of June 30th. We also talk about unassigned fund balance in different ways, and this is where it's our practice to try to have our unassigned fund balance between 25 and 45%. And this is something that I'm happy to say we have been very successful in being able to manage that best practice. we measure unassigned fund balance at the end of the year, and it's based upon the actual expenditures that we had for the year. And this unassigned fund balance also is something that credit rating agencies look at when they're making their assessments for us. And unassigned fund balance is something that we use to help us with our operational cash flows. So you can see that in that inverted triangle that the LGC recommends that we have at least 1 month's worth of reserve that we have to be able to pay our bills. And that's roughly $3 million. We also show that at 25%, that's $9 million, and at the 45%, which is roughly 6 months worth of what our expenditures might look like, is roughly $18 million. So unassigned fund balance, for the most part, helps cash flow some of our operational needs. A lot of our revenue doesn't really come in the first or even the second quarter for revenue, and so we really do rely on our fund balance or the unassigned fund balance to help with that cash flow. And those numbers that I gave you as far as the 3 million, 9 million, 18 million, that's based actually on a 5-year average of what we've had for expenditures. So we do look at things as from a trend analysis perspective as well. And so, as I mentioned, we might use our fund balance to help us with paying our bills, taking care of any unforeseen issues, and we'll expect to see our revenues increasing in the second and third quarters. This is just another quick look at unassigned fund balance as it relates to our general fund expenditures. They were roughly level with what we had last year, about less than 1% change from the previous year, but it actually grew 5% from the previous year of 36.98. We went to almost 42 at the 41.98. And some of the things that affected our unassigned fund balance this year was the McCrimmon Parkway project closing. That was a significant where we were able to release that liability. So that certainly had an effect on our unassigned fund balance. Revenues actually exceeded expenditures, so that also affects our unassigned fund balance. And we actually, as I mentioned, the expenditures were basically static from the previous year. Sales tax was actually better than budget. And again, this is something that credit ratings look at. They want to see that we're within our policy limits. They want to make sure that they want to see our unassigned fund balance basically grow. So we have certainly demonstrated that. And especially since we're getting ready to issue bonds, this will be very important as well. The other things that can influence unassigned fund balance, as I mentioned, was revenue. Our commitment of capital reserves is another thing that can have an effect. And our outstanding purchase orders, we actually had $2.5 million in purchase orders that we rolled from fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 22. And some of those things that didn't roll, the delayed spending, is another thing that can influence our unassigned fund balance. But the other thing is that timing can be an issue. As I mentioned, we had those POs that rolled, and that's just because they just weren't spent in the fiscal year, but they were part of the equation. Other fund balance highlights, Parkland payment in lieu is another one that we tend to look at on a yearly basis. You'll notice that we didn't have a lot of revenue this past year, and that I think we're going to see that continuing, that as we approach build-out, we're going to see less and less money coming in for Parkland payment in lieu, so that's something that will certainly be changing as we move forward. Other things that are part of our fund balance, we have our streets and our infrastructure. There was not much of a change, about $330,000 was the change in that fund balance, and that was primarily due to the Powell bill. We did not spend all of our Powell bill money because we did have a delay in our streets repaving and our streets condition. That was roughly a $1.7 million PO that rolled, and so some of that streets fund balance was Powell bill money that had not been spent yet. McCrimmon also had an effect on the street infrastructure fund balance as well. We also have capital reserves that are part of the fund balance, and that's something that council is committed to as far as using it for specific capital investments. And so last year, if you recall, we did not do any appropriation for the fire apparatus. We did appropriate money for CIP. Not CIP either, but we did this year along with the roadway and transportations. And so I also wanted to show on this slide what fund balance looked like as of June 30th, and then what it looked like as of July 1, where we recognized those transfers that were part of the budget. And another part of our fund balance that I wanted to mention, if you recall, we talked about that $6.7 million at our budget to actual variance that happened. We mentioned that at our conversation with you last time we met in October, and just wanted to give you a little bit more detail of what that looked like. As I mentioned, we really did spend our money. This is just the dollar value that relates to the unused budget, and it demonstrates the breakdown of budget to actual variances. So as you can see, 83% was actually expenditures, roughly 17% was the variance. And the breakouts of the pie show you that one of the biggest parts was the PO rollover, which I mentioned it was almost a little over $2.5 million. So that was part of that budget to actual variance that we had talked about when we presented to you last time. Just again wanted to remind you that some of those variances were related to.
Can I just go back to that pie chart just a little bit before you go to your next slide? So there's something I want to explain just to make sure what you're seeing here is clear, is the 17% variance. If you break that down further, if you look at the things that are committed and will be spent, so Nancy, correct me if I'm wrong, on the bigger pie over here on the right of the screen, the things that were committed, but because of our reporting requirements, we're not allowed to count them in the 83% that's considered spent, but they're committed and will be in the future, are the PO rollovers. That's 2.5 million in PO rollovers. It's just that progress hasn't been made such that we've received all the invoices to consider it spent. So it's not a part of the 83, it's a part of the 17, but it's booked and captured and will get spent. The other piece that I think it's important to note here is when we commit money from the general fund, new revenue sources, in a year to reserves, it is not counted as spent, but it is also counted as committed, and it moves out of the general fund and over into a committed reserve for future spending. So again, not a part of the 83%, but really important to recognize that it is something you will spend in the future. So that explains and breaks down that 17% a little bit more. So really the things that you're left with, lap salary, 2%. We always have turnover, and turnover affects really what's left on the table from a budget to actual perspective. And you're always going to have things that just because of influences, such as the Smart Shuttle, and she'll talk about that, the Smart Shuttle, because of influences, it just didn't get started, but we had a budget appropriation. We had some of it was captured in PO rollover, but not all of it was captured in a purchase order to encumber and protect it and commit it. So it fell back to what we call fund balance. The other things that just naturally occur in a budget, you don't spend 100% of your appropriation. You have natural savings. That explains the other 3%. So if you break that down, you're talking about things that were spent in a budget to actual, 7%.
Thank you, Jeannie. those are some of the things I was going to hit in the next slide, but that's quite all right. We just want to make sure that you hear this from us. So as Judy was mentioning, that not all that spending happens in a fiscal year, and that's why we wanted to demonstrate in the pie chart about what those differences were. I mentioned lapsed salary. That was certainly, it was less than last year, but still it's part of that budget to actual that was not spent. The turnover that happens with our staff, the outstanding purchase orders, those are all things that affect that budget to actual variance. And we also had some delayed spending. The shuttle is a perfect example of a project that the Smart Shuttle that didn't get was delayed and did not actually get spent. The POs that rolled over, the biggest part of that was 1.7 in street repaving and pavement conditions. The sustainability initiative was another thing that was delayed with a PO rollover as well. So those are all things that affected the budget to actual variance. So as far as what's next, as I mentioned, you're going to have a work session on November 23rd, and at that point there'll be a more detailed discussion as far as using the available fund balance and what some operational and project needs might be. So the intent was this evening to give you more of a high level of information where we'll give a deeper dive with you on the 23rd. So at this point, I welcome any questions that you might have.
Less a question, but if you could go to slide 5. I do like the idea of looking at the above 35% midpoint and that as a dollar value that might be used as capacity looking forward, and that's what we're going to be discussing on the 23rd, just as a little preview.
Yeah, so those, and my apologies for not going over that in more detail, but that's what could be potentially available for council to be able to spend based upon our current policy.
If I could go ahead and jump